Hi, everyone. So, last time when we read chapter 3 together, the last thing that we heard was that there were footsteps in the forest in the Boxcar Children series, and we didn't know what those footsteps were. So, in this chapter, we're going to find out what those footsteps were and what else is going on with these four children. Chapter 4. Henry has two surprises. Jessie whispered, "Keep still." The three children did not say a word. They sat quietly in the boxcar, looking at the bushes. I wonder if it's a bear, thought Benny. Soon something came out. But it wasn't a bear, it was a dog, which hopped along on three legs, crying softly and holding up a front paw. It's all right, said Jessie. It's only a dog, but I think he's hurt. The dog looked up and saw the children, and then he wagged his tail, which most likely means he's happy. Poor dog, said Jessie. Are you lost? Come over here and let me look at your paw. The dog hopped over to the boxcar and the children got out. Jessie looked at the paw and said, Oh dear, you poor dog, there's a big thorn in your foot. The dog stopped crying and looked at Jessie. Good dog, said Jessie. I can help you, but maybe it will hurt. So she wants to get the thorn out, kind of like something you might see on like a flower or a bush. It's in his little paw. So that's her helping him get it out. The dog looked up at Jessie and wagged his tail. Violet, ordered Jessie, please wet my handkerchief in the brook. Okay, so handkerchief is like a napkin or a tissue, but you use it a lot of times. And you like would keep it in your pocket and then like wash it in your laundry. So if you hear the word handkerchief, that's what that is. Jessie sat down on the stump and took the dog in her lap. She patted him and gave him a little piece of bread. Then she began to pull out the thorn. It was a long thorn, but the dog did not make any noise. Jessie pulled and pulled, and at last the thorn came out. Violet had a wet handkerchief ready. Jessie put it on the dog's paw, and he looked up at her and wagged his tail a little. He wants to say thank you, Jessie, cried Violet. He's a good dog not to cry. Yes, he is, agreed Jessie. Now I had better hold him for a while so that he will lie down and rest his leg. We can surprise Henry, remarked Benny. Now we have a dog. So we can, said Jessie. But that was not my surprise. I was going to get a lot of blueberries for supper. Yum. Can't we look for blueberries while you hold the dog? Asked Violet. Yes, you can, said Jessie. Look over there by the big trees. Benny and Violet ran over to look. Oh, Jessie, cried Benny, did you ever see so many blueberries? I guess 5 blueberries. No, I guess 10 blueberries. Jessie laughed. I guess there are more than 5 or 10, Benny, she said. Get a clean towel and pick them to eat. For a while, Jessie watched Benny and Violet picking blueberries. Most of Benny's blueberries are going into his mouth, she thought with a laugh. But maybe that's just as well. He won't get so hungry waiting for Henry to come back with the milk. She carried the dog over to the children and sat down beside them. The dog was on her lap. With her help, the towel was soon full of blueberries. I wish we had some dishes, Jessie said. Then we could have blueberries and milk. Never mind, said Violet. When Henry comes, we can eat some blueberries and then take a drink of milk. When Henry came, he had some heavy bundles. He had 4 bottles of milk in a bag, a loaf of brown bread, and also some fine yellow cheese. He looked at the dog. Where did you get that fine dog? He cried. He came to us, said Benny. He's a surprise for you. Henry went over to the dog, who wagged his tail. Henry patted him and said he ought to be a good watchdog. Why is the handkerchief on his foot? So, watchdog is kind of like a guard dog to make sure that they're safe and protected. He had a big thorn in his foot, answered Violet, and Jessie took it out and put it on the handkerchief. It hurt him, but he did not cry or growl. His name is Watch, remarked Benny. Oh, is it? Asked Jessie, laughing. Watch is a good name for a watchdog. Did you bring some milk? Asked Benny, looking hungrily at the bottles. I should say I did, replied Henry. 4 bottles. Poor old Benny, said Jessie. We'll have dinner now. Or is it supper? So then they called lunch was called dinner, and then dinner was called supper. So you'll hear those words a lot in the story. But it's just different meals throughout the day. It must be supper, said Henry, for soon we'll have to go to bed. Tomorrow we'll eat 3 times, said Jessie. Now, Jessie liked to have things in order, and so she put the laundry bag on some pine needles for a tablecloth. Then she cut the loaf of brown bread into 5 big pieces. The cheese was cut into 4. Dogs don't like cheese, remarked Benny. The poor little boy was so glad too, for he was very hungry. Violet put the 4 bottles of milk on the table, and Jessie put some blueberries and cheese at each place. Blueberries, cried Henry. Jessie, you had 2 surprises for me. I'm sorry we haven't any cups, Jessie said. We'll have to drink out of the bottles. Now all come and sit down. So supper began. Look, Benny, said Henry. You take some blueberries, then eat some brown bread, and then some cheese. Then take a drink of milk. It's good, said Benny. He began to put more blueberries into his mouth. The dog had supper too. Jessie gave him bread as he lay down on the ground beside her and drank milk out of her hand. When supper was over, there was some milk left in each bottle. We'll have the rest of the milk for breakfast, said Jessie. Tonight we are going to sleep on beds. Let's get some pine needles now. Soon the children had a big pile. So it's like a pile of leaves or like those skinny pine needles that you might see. Henry jumped into the boxcar and Jessie gave him the pine needles. He made 4 beds in one end of the car. This side is the bedroom, said Jessie. What will the other side be? Asked Benny. So they're kind of dividing the boxcar into different sections. The other side, said Jessie. Let me think. I guess that will be the sitting room, and maybe some of the time it'll be the kitchen. Then she said, come and get washed. She took the cake of soap and went down to the brook. So the cake of soap probably just means like a bar of soap. And they went down to the brook, that stream of water we talked about earlier. That will be fun, Benny, said Violet. We'll splash our paws in the brook, just as little brown bear does. She knew that Benny did not like to be washed. The children were all very hot, and so they were glad to splash in cold water. Benny put cold water and soap on his face with the others and dried his hands on a towel. We'll have to have a line to dry the towels on, said Jessie. So she took the string out of the laundry bag and tied it to the end of the tree. The other end of the string she tied to the boxcar. This made a good clothesline. When she had washed one towel and Violet had washed the other one, they hung both towels on the clothesline. It looks like home, said Henry. See the washing? He laughed. Jessie was thinking, We ought to get some water to drink before we go to bed, she said. But what shall we put it in? Let's put all the milk into 2 bottles, said Henry. Then we can fill the other 2 with water. Good, said Jessie. You go alone to the fountain, Henry. You can hide if anyone comes along. Henry went out very quietly and soon came back with 2 bottles full of cold water. Benny drank a little, but he was almost asleep. The other children helped him into the boxcar. Then they all climbed in, Jessie carrying the dog. He lay down at once beside her. It is so hot that we'll leave the door open, said Henry. Soon they were fast asleep, dog and all. The moon came up, but they did not see it. This was the first time in 4 days that they could go to sleep at night, as children should. Okay, so that was chapter 4. I hope you all enjoyed it. I want you to think about what would your favorite part of that day have been. Sounds like fun to maybe pick blueberries or to wash your face in the water. That sounded really fun. So what do you think your favorite part would have been on that day? All right, so I will upload chapter 5 tomorrow, and I hope you're all doing well. I miss you and I love you. Bye.